Everyone talks about exogenous ketones like they're a magic performance fuel, so I tested them, the sweetened version and the unsweetened version, and the results shocked me. One put me into this crazy fat-burning zone, and the other one shut my fat burning off completely even though my blood sugar stayed normal. Hi, my name is Michelle, and I'm the Insulin Empress, and on this channel we talk about all things insulin. But first, let me introduce the star of today's show, ketones. Ketones are trending. Everyone is raving about the energy boost and the brain performance, but no one is talking about how they affect insulin or your fat burning capability, something that I accidentally found out. So what are ketones? Ketones are an energy source that is an alternative fuel to glucose for our body. It is only made when insulin levels are low, and they are produced in the liver. They're used for brain health and energy and fat oxidation. Today, we're going to talk about exogenous ketones. They're ketone salts and esters produced by companies as a supplement to help people achieve their desired brain function and sustained energy during difficult or challenging tasks. People use exogenous ketones for mental clarity, to induce a state of calmness and to dispel anxiety. It can be an appetite suppressant. It can provide an energy boost. It can help with the keto flu relief. Often when a person is insulin resistant and going on a low-carb diet to lower insulin levels, the lack of carbs as fuel can lead to flu-like symptoms. The lowering of carbs is vital to lowering insulin levels, but if you don't replace the fuel with fats, it can be quite a difficult transition. Even then, if your body is not primed to burn fat, which can take days or even weeks, your brain and energy levels will be suffering. Exogenous ketones provide that fuel until your body can do it on its own, and often primes the body to get into a fat burning faster than just dieting alone. Thus provides a quick entry into artificial ketosis. It can be used for athletic endurance. It can support and induce fat burning, as we will discuss when we talk about my experiment. It can surprisingly induce blood sugar stability for some, as it lowers glucagon levels. So the presence of ketones as a fuel tells the brain not to worry because there's plenty of fuel on board. So then the brain lowers glucagon production, which leads to sugar levels dropping to more normal levels. This does not happen in type 1 diabetic, as the presence of some insulin is required for this process to work. So who should use them? People easing into the keto diet, people dealing with anxiety and brain fog, people wanting appetite control, athletes, people wanting elevated focus, people reversing insulin resistance who want to jumpstart their fat burning capability. Who should not use them? People who choose sweetened formulas but they have a high insulin levels, aka insulin resistance, people expecting them to magically burn fat without lifestyle changes, anyone sensitive to sugar, alcohols, artificial sweeteners for the flavored versions, people who have type 1 diabetes and most likely produce too much ketones to begin with. So here's what happened. In the very first test, I did an extended fasting session like I do every week to manage my condition. I have a reactive insulinoma and I'm quite insulin resistant due to the effects of that tumor. I usually aim for about 72 hours. I started fasting on Wednesday night around 9 p.m. It was October 22nd, and I went to 1 p.m. Saturday afternoon. The fast lasted 64 hours. At the end of that fast, my glucose levels were 84 and my ketones reached 1.0. My goal is to get the ketones up past 2.7. Anything less than that indicates hyperinsulinemia, too much insulin, and this was my average. These were my typical results to my weekly extended fasting sessions. On to the second test, unsweetened ketones. 18 hours into fasting, I was at work and I was burning no fat and producing no ketones. Usually I'm around 0.5. I was feeling the lack of mental energy and I was driving around dealing with traffic. I drive for a living. So I reached for some unflavored and unsweetened ketone shots from Ketone IQ that I bought at the vitamin shop. My glucose levels were good, but my ketone levels were non-existent due to the high insulin levels in my body. Almost an hour after I took the ketone shots, I noticed a calmness come over me, like nothing could faze me or frazzle me. In about 45 minutes, my ketones spiked to 1.3. It might have climbed higher than that, but that's where it was at 45 minutes in. Glucose was at 82, and at 1 hour and 45 minutes later, My glucose was stable at 83 and my ketones were staying steady at 1.3. Exogenous ketones don't last long in the body, only a few hours. So at 2 hours and 45 minutes, my glucose levels dropped to the 70, still in the safe zone, while the ketones remained steady and elevated at 1.3. Then I had my lunchtime at work, and since I was fasting, I went for a short walk. The walk raised my glucose levels ever so slightly to 77, which is I totally expected because exercise like walking will raise glucose levels a little bit from the fasting levels. Walking will drop glucose levels if they are high, but if they aren't high, they will actually cause a small rise due to the activation of counter-regulatory hormones. My ketones dropped to about 0.8, but they were still pretty decently elevated for that amount of time spent fasting and for my body. 6 hours later, the exogenous ketones are now out of my system. My glucose went back down to 71, optimal fasting glucose levels are in the low 70s, and my ketones went up ever so slightly to 0.9, which told me that this was my body's own ketone production. The exogenous ketones flooded my body with energy, shifting my mitochondria from burning glucose for fuel to burning fat, aka ketones for fuel. The training wheels were off, and now my body was able to ride on its own without any help. The next evening at 11:30 p.m., my glucose was good at 76, and my own body fat produced ketones. They were at 1.6. At 4:11 p.m. the next day, my glucose had dropped to a low but still safe level of 64, and my ketones were a fabulous 2.2. That was more than double what I could achieve with my normal extended fast and almost triple what I could achieve with the flavored ketones. Here's a clip of me breaking that fast, checking my levels, and sharing a few thoughts. Hey guys, it's Michelle, the Insulin Empress. I am about to finish a fasting session, and I'm kind of cutting it a little early. It's supposed to go to 72 hours. It's supposed to go to 6:30, but it's 4:08, and I am forced to take a lunch break because at work, in the state of California, you have to take a lunch by a certain amount of time. So I have to take my lunch, and I have food with me, and to be honest, I'm ready to eat. I'm not hungry, so I'm not feeling any hunger. I'm not feeling any dizziness or weakness or lightheadedness or any of that, which is actually surprising because I am ovulating, and that's an important piece of information because when you ovulate, your sugar levels will tend to stay a little bit lower than normal. And so usually when I'm ovulating, I get more symptoms, but I'm not having any symptoms, and I know I'm ovulating for sure today. I checked my temperature this morning. I do not have a uterus. I know this long story, TMI, too much information. I don't have a uterus. I do have my ovaries, so I still have a cycle. And since I don't have a uterus, I don't know when my cycle is based because I don't bleed, So I have to check my temperature every morning, and when I spike to 99.0, when I have a low-grade fever, that's basically the day of ovulation. And when I'm having my period, it drops to 97.9. And so that's how I keep track of my cycle. So anyway, I'm going to check my levels real quick and see where it is at. So I'm going to check my sugar with a Freestyle Precision Neo. It's the machine that I trust the most out of all of them. And then I'm going to check my ketones with a Keto Mojo. I don't trust the sugars on a Keto Mojo. They read a little bit too high, so I don't trust it. But I do trust it for the ketones. So I use that for the ketones, and then use the other one for my regular. Jeez, these things can be so hard to open sometimes. So I have them here on my lap, and I'm going to prick my finger, and I show this to people all the time. You want to prick on I'm not trying to flip you all off, but you want to prick on the side, not here, not anywhere on the pad. You want to prick on the side. So this is where it hurts less, and you get a better sample. So I'll put blood on both of those. My sugar is at 65. This is backwards, but sugar's at 65, which is normal for 70 hours or so fasting, 69 hours of fasting. And my ketones is at 2.4. Of course, this is backwards because I'm recording with the face front camera front-facing camera. Jeez, I have dyslexia, I think. I've never been actually diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I have dyslexia because I mess that up all the time. So it is at 69 hours and 41 minutes. My CGM says I think it was 71 or 73. And so it's just a few points off, not that big of a difference. So now I'm going to eat, and what I brought for myself today, or bought for myself today, is El Pollo Loco. For those of you who do not live in California or Florida, there's a place that sells chicken, fire-grilled chicken, called El Pollo Loco. In Florida, it's El Pollo Tropical. That's the only other place that I know of. And look at this. Half chicken. It's got a leg, a wing, a thigh, and a breast. Half chicken, or I think it was like $13. Yeah, $12.83. So almost $13. And this is what I'm going to be breaking my fast with. And since I haven't been producing any kind of stomach acid, for 72 hours pretty much, when I eat, because I have low stomach acid, I always take betaine HCl, 3 of these betaine HCl pills with each meal to help bring my stomach acid levels up so that I can digest protein and fat. Because if your stomach acid levels are weak, you're not going to digest protein and fat. And if anybody who has H. pylori, like I do, it's a bacteria that makes its home in the lining of the stomach, it will secrete stuff that keeps your stomach acid low. And so no matter what you eat, you're not going to be breaking down your proteins and fats because of the H. pylori. And I did a video on this. So I take the betaine HCl at the beginning of the meal to increase my stomach acid, and then I take bile salts afterwards. 1 bile salt and a couple of digestive enzymes with high lipase to help break down that fat even further. Bile salts helps your bile production, and bile is what helps to break down fat. Fat is energy, and this is where I'm getting most of my energy from. Protein is not an energy source. Protein is a building block. Fat is an energy source, and there is some fat in this chicken, not a lot, but there is some, and so I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of it. So this is what I do. Also, what I like to do when I eat, besides the fact that I eat slowly, I do not hork down my food. I like to watch some comedy or something light. If I'm outside or have an ability to eat outside, I'll do that. I don't have that ability today, but eating outside in the sunshine is really helpful because direct sunlight helps to lower insulin levels. And so, but I do try to keep things very light. I don't think about stress, so I don't talk about stressful things. Just keep things very light. And so what I do is I go to YouTube. Since I'm in my car, I just go to YouTube and I look up some comedies that I can watch while I'm eating. So that's what I do. I forgot to mention something. If you have salivary glands, especially in the roof of your mouth, you have some salivary glands. When you don't eat for a few days, those kind of shut down a little bit. Not permanently, just temporary. When you start eating, those start to kick back in. And sometimes it can be painful. I have noticed when I start eating after fasting that I get pain in the roof of my mouth. It goes away after about maybe an hour. But there's that pain there, and I was wondering what it was. I've done some research, and it's your salivary glands coming back online. It's sensing food, and so they're going to start to produce salivation again a lot more. And so it hurts a little bit. So if you notice that, totally normal thing. It's not the most pleasant thing, but the benefits of fasting are way more than just that little bit of pain that you have to deal with. One more thing. If you find yourself bored with food, like and nothing tastes good and you're just bored with food, fasting is great because it resets your taste buds, resets everything, and just the simplest food will taste freaking amazing after a fasting session. So a lot of times it's just boredom. We just get bored, and what it takes spending some time away from that thing to appreciate it again. And so stay away from food for a little while, and you'll appreciate even the most boring things. Like yesterday, I was joking with a coworker about how I was ready to eat the cardboard box that his burrito was in. Like, I'll settle for the cardboard box, because that's when you get to that point, anything tastes good. So if you find yourself bored with the food, this is a great way to reset, is by doing a fasting. So there was no glucose rise, no insulin spike, Fat burning jumped significantly. I felt great and energized and had no hunger cravings. Then came test number 3, sweetened ketones. I started the fast Monday, November 17th and went to Wednesday, November 19th for a total of 65 hours and 38 minutes. 15 hours in, my glucose was stable at 78 and my ketones were super low at 0.2. At 3:24 p.m., I took the flavored ketones. 2 hours and 45 minutes later, my CGM was stable, my glucose reading was 74, so I dropped a little, but for some reason I didn't check my glucose or my ketones with a meter. I must have been super busy at work. But the next time I did check, it was November 18th at 3:51 p.m., 25 hours and 30 minutes after taking the flavored ketones. My glucose was steady at 87, but my ketones were non-existent, and my meter said low. 5 hours later, my glucose was at 82. My ketones finally decided to show up at 0.7. November 19th, I tested one last time before breaking my fast, and my glucose was steady at 79, but my ketones were at just 0.8. Those were less ketones than when I didn't use ketones at all. So the flavored ketones actually slowed down my fat loss. So my glucose stayed stable, but my insulin spiked rapidly due to the sugars and the flavors in the flavored ketones. So it completely shut down my ability to burn fat, and it ended up affecting me for most of that fast. People don't realize that even fake sugar will spike insulin. It may not affect your sugar level at all, but it will raise insulin, causing a complete shutdown of fat burning and even induce carb cravings. I didn't feel as good or as energized during this fasting session. What this means for people with insulin resistance is that focusing on insulin is more critical for fat loss than focusing on glucose levels. Insulin is a key factor for fat loss, and there are many hidden insulin triggers in foods and supplements. They may seem small and insignificant, but they can really stop your progress and even make things worse. Fake sweeteners are supposed to be a healthy alternative, and they are for type 1 diabetics who do not make any insulin. For the rest of us who make insulin and actually make too much to begin with, triggering more insulin becomes our downfall. So to achieve any kind of fat burning, insulin must be low. There is no way around it. You can fast for days, you can run a marathon, but if insulin is elevated, you will not be burning fat, therefore not making any ketones. Instead, you'll be burning muscle and feeling the lack of energy and the increase in anxiety and food noise and hunger and experience emotional instability. Insulin must be low to burn fat. This is why people can plateau or even gain when eating keto snacks, having diet drinks. My final advice to you: choose the best ketone supplement for your current condition. If you have high insulin levels, so 8 UIU or higher, and low ketone production, you want to stay away from the flavored ones because they will trigger insulin. You may get a temporary energy boost, but on the back end, it will slow your progress down and can even reverse it. Choose the unflavored ones for the best results. If you are active and metabolically flexible and can burn fat within 5 hours of not eating and have some ketone production by that time, you can use whichever one you want. There are no restrictions and no precautions. The way you find out which category you fit in is by checking your fasting insulin levels at your local lab. At home, there is no home meter for home testing, but by using a blood ketone meter, your production or lack of ketones will tell you if your insulin is high or low. Insulin ketones have a direct inverse relationship. Low ketones mean insulin is high. High ketones mean insulin is low. The goal is to lower insulin and get high ketones, unless you're a type 1 diabetic. On top of that, avoiding fake sweeteners as much as possible will help keep insulin levels down so you can achieve the fat loss that you are aiming for. Ketones are best used when doing intermittent fasting or extended fasting, and when you need that brain boost or that energy push to get through the challenging times. You can do this, and ketones can help. I hope that my experience helped, and if you want some more data-driven videos on insulin resistance, fat burning, metabolic health, and my journey to becoming a scientist, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.